Oh yeah,
right?
it's like because I'm annoyed.
Other than when Jeff hotboxes you.
How often do I get angry?
Yeah.
How often does any person get angry?
That's
the
true.
world is a fucked up place.
I don't get angry very often. How often have you seen me angry? Honestly.
Maybe a handful of times.
In
the
how
time
many
I've known
years?
you. Yeah, 18, 19, yeah. Maybe.
It's not worth getting. Like
You're
you
just
said,
better at it.
Like, so many people aren't worth being it. Fuck you.
I'm
like,
the caveat, though.
You guys
I've been
don't come
angry
back.
all
I'm
the
not mad at
time.
you. So, I know you don't want to talk about Jeff, but it's a real thing. Like, you guys are
You guys are together.
It's a real
You guys are a
thing.
dynamic couple in this area, right? And it's real. Like, you guys are fun to watch. The posts you guys put out there are, like, inspiring because it's like, oh my God, they love each other. They're having fun. They're having a blast.
Yeah.
Is he a dick?
Classic misdirection.
He's like, you guys look so happy online. So
I don't believe it.
Right behind the music. That's why you have cats. You don't have to deal with Jeff.
yeah, I can't deal with a Jeff in my life.
It's your only two options, Katie. Cats or Jeff. I wasn't given that option.
You just got Jeff.
I just got a dick pic from Jeff.
I would believe that, actually.
He said, fuck you, stand right across the shaft. So listen, you lady... 5 years, right? You've been doing comedy?
Yeah.
3.
5. Just to remind everyone that is coming in.
So we're like
recently.
legit
Tuning
guys.
in.
We have Katie with 3, Natasha with 5. That's pretty good. That's a good amount of time to develop, right?
I think it's long enough to know how much more work we have ahead of ourselves. I was just talking to somebody about that last night. It's like the longer that I do comedy, the more I know that I don't know.
Totally.
When I first started, I was like, okay, like, I'm funny, I can do this. And then, you think you can just like get on doing an open mic, but there's... The journey in comedy is so different, and that's actually one thing that I've been learning that I'm grateful that I'm learning is that there's a million different ways to be successful in comedy. And it's really just like what you want to be successful about. Like I personally have no interest in like pursuing a television career. I'm not saying that like I wouldn't want that to happen. Yeah, absolutely. But like I try to be very realistic about like, okay, I need a job that's going to like pay my bills. So I love comedy. My goal with comedy is to get to the point where comedy can supplement travel for me, so that I can book some travel and I can either go someplace because I'm being paid to be there, or I can like plan a trip and use my connections and make money while I'm there performing. I mean, just making money doing comedy that's still so...
Well, you see how going
that's so crazy to me. Like, that's so amazing. Yeah,
I
so
equate
amazing.
comedy to everything that I like to do, which is an art. And so everything is artistic,
Yes.
and art doesn't make money.
Sure does
You've
not.
got to be really specific,
Yes.
particular, or have luck. I don't know if people
And
like that
bleach
term.
does not
No.
cure autism. Just so you guys know.
Bleach is not your artism.
But
That's
luck,
right.
I know people
back.
don't like to use that word, but that's so true. A lot of people that are successful, it really is a form of luck. Yes, it's just the right place at the right time. Like if you were born and raised in New York or LA, you already have a leg up. Like you're already in. But I mean, I like being in this sort of like, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but like I like being in a rather obscure market, where I have opportunities and I can like learn and grow. And, if it develops into a career, that's great. But if anything, I just want this to be my lifelong hobby that also makes me some money.
And we do have that potential. Tampa has that potential to be in LA or New York, maybe not tomorrow or 10 years from now. But we do have a spectrum that is definitely transitioned to the other two big time places.
The problem is the percentage of chances of running into someone that can make that happen are slimmer here.
That's
because those people are there, so you have a greater chance of running into them at the right place at the right time.
Sure.
Whereas here, they spot check us. You know what I mean? So that's why more and more comics are starting to venture out. They're starting to go out.
Well, they have Hollywood. They have L.A. has the movie scenes.
Right.
New York has the bigger comedy clubs where they can contend with. Tampa has a cool place, a cool vibe, a cool growth, kind of a bullpen for baseball fans, but nowhere else to go.
Yeah. But there's also a lot of professionals that come through Tampa,
Right.
and I think that's where we have the advantage of being able to like meet those people and network with those people. Like a little humble brag here, I got to host for Joe List at Side Splitters, and like that was like so cool. Like I've been doing comedy for 3 years. I've worked in clubs. I've met professionals. I've worked with professional headliners. But like to work with someone who's like been on TV, and like that was. But what was so cool about that is I had only known his comedy from his late night spots or Netflix, and seeing him do live comedy was very different. And that was also really inspiring to me. Like I really think that that comedy is a really unique art because so much of it is about connecting with people. And, you'd asked about like performing versus writing. Other performers, I'm getting goosebumps. I'm being like such a nerd right now.
It was just Joe.
I know, it's just Joe. But no, like coming from, I thought I wanted to be an actress when I was younger, and I did that, and I tried that, and it didn't work for me. And the authenticity and the honesty that I can bring to comedy, and I can just be myself and actually be like a successful artist, and I don't have to, did I not embody that character? Like I don't have to worry about that because I can be whatever I want to be. And there's a lot of power in writing your own stuff that you're performing, and that's like a really unique special thing that we get to do as stand-up comedians that maybe other artists don't get to do. And I, for one, would not want to go to an LA or a New York where you kind of have to fit into this box to be on TV or to be on the late night specials. Like I like that I can bomb at a show because I'm trying something new, but it's real and it's honest and it's me.
And you'll be back in a few months.
Yeah, exactly.
Going to New York or LA, man, I fit in a box. I'll fucking do it. I'm telling you right now.
And I'm not. I don't mean to like put down anyone who wants to do that. That's for me. That's not my goal with comedy. I also just don't think that you have to have a certain drive and personality for that. That's when I studied theater in college. I was meeting people that were, going off to LA to make it. And there's this like, make it or die mentality.
Because
Yeah,
people have a different approach to their success doesn't make any of those approaches incorrect.
I don't have the struggle in me. There's some people
the struggle's real.
There's some people that really thrive in that sort of like hustle culture, and that they live off of like those rejections, and you're just like working all the time. I was like, I would love to have a job with a steady paycheck that I can still like be fulfilled.
So you're jobless?
I'm very much not jobless. Like I am. I have a job. I have a job.
I want to make it clear to people that you're not homeless or jobless.
No, I comedy is not my job. Comedy. It is my second job, but I'm paying my bills with something other than comedy. One day it would be amazing to make my money solely through comedy, but I'm also very realistic about that. I don't want to pin all of my hopes and dreams on something that could fall apart. And again, everyone who does that, you're amazing. You have incredible spirit. I don't have that. So I need a little more
you have rich
certainty.
Parents. Right.
So I was curious, and this goes for both of you. So you opened for Joe List. I was thinking in my head a little bit earlier this week about all the comedians that come through here, the big names, and then sometimes they'll pick one to go tour with them. Did Joe give you any kind of advice, and I know he didn't say, hey, why don't you come tour with me, but have you heard that? Have you kind of got that vibe, or have they given you any kind of, well, if you do this, you can kind of head that direction?
Yes and no. I feel like there's definitely I've worked with comedians. They're like, why aren't you doing the road, or why aren't you doing this? And I'm like, oh, because I don't
after work.
I don't know, or also I don't know how to start that. I don't know how to do that. Like I worked with one comedian who was like, you should definitely be working the road, and I was like, I don't know how to make that happen. And he was just like, Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
And I was like, no, tell
doesn't
me.
either. No, he doesn't either.
Tell me.
Natasha,
Yeah.
you have traveled to do this, correct?
Some, but I'm not a road comic. I think
I
there's
realize you're not on the side of the road like with a
no. I don't mean that in a diminutive way at all. I mean that in a like that would be great type of way. Like
But that's like a full-time
Yeah,
gig.
there's a difference between going and doing mini tours or having gigs abroad or elsewhere and then coming back versus being a road comic where there's several weeks out of the year where you book these years in advance and they ask you to come back. Yeah.
Then you go to a cruise.
Yeah, you get a new cruise, or like you can sort of plan a good chunk of the next year or two
6
around
months,
that. Yeah.
And is it because you guys just don't want to travel, or just because you preferred your great real lives to traveling?
I don't know if it's an either or for anyone. I know I can speak for me. Like, I think that just for me, it hasn't been an opportunity that's presented itself with someone yet. With someone that I would be inclined and excited and able to work with for a long term.
And what would that opportunity be? Like, what would an opportunity that arise that would make you go, yes, I'll do that? Like, what would that consist of?
I mean, an offer to start with, a paid offer, where
Yeah.
I mean,
Pay me, bitches.
Or a headliner that's already on the road.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, come with me.
you're essentially right. Like they've seen you, they believe in what you're doing, they want to give you a bit of more of a chance, and they think that your comedy or your vibe works well with them on stage and even in the car in the after hours. You have to sort of like each other as people.
Absolutely.
And that
Yeah.
you can get paid, because or else like you can't make a living just doing 10-minute sets in random places across the US just because it's fun.
Now you have 5 years, you have 3 years. How much time do you have, and how much time do you have? Can you do a 30-minute set? Can you do a 50-minute set?
30 minutes left.
Well, I only asked this because
thank you for asking that, because I think that also explains why we're where we are in our level. That's Natasha and I are both, at what would be. Thank you for noticing.
Can always count on Stan.
we're still at that sort of feature level,
Yeah.
that middling level, and I think we're both very realistic that it takes time to get to that point. So I mean, I would say that I have 25 minutes that I could say I'm confident.
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell a booker that I have more than that. Do I have more material than 25 minutes? For sure.
But is it right?
Yes,
right.
but my tried and true material that I know can be consistent, that I would offer to a booker, would be 25, which isn't enough time for most bookers.
Sure, you need an hour.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you don't expect success to happen within a few years?
Hell no. No.
How about 5?
I feel like in comedy, it's a sense of like you set. If you have expectations, because people are like, I don't have expectations, I'm just like going with the wind. No, like you have to have some sense of expectation, and like you set your expectations sort of low, or like don't set them too high. But then like,
But is that too safe?
No, but you set them low, but then you hustle and you take things as they come and make the most out of. At least for me, you make the most out of everything, every relationship, every opportunity you get. You cull from it what you can, and then. But you never know if you're going to be asked back. You never know if you go into a venue, if the crowd is going to be someone that's even heard of you before. And so much of like how well you do in a night sometimes depends on who's there to see you. They don't know who the hell you are.
Now, I'm glad you said that, because do you look more forward to performing in front of an audience that doesn't know you, or one that does?
I like both.
I get it. You enjoy what you're doing, but I mean, like, for honest feedback.
I mean, anyone loves to feel good, and I love feeling good stepping off the stage and being like, I killed. And like, I think the greatest joy is like knowing you made a connection. Is knowing you made a connection, and that connection usually comes in forms of applause, laughter, even moments of like positive silence where people seem like they are engaged or entranced, or they like get what you're saying, even if they're not rolling over. Like I do storytelling as well and some theater, and so like sometimes the most honest or beautiful feedback is like silence, because you can just hear them holding their breath waiting for you to deliver on the last punchline.
Or they've all left.
Sometimes you don't know because the lights are so bright. You don't know if there's anyone
and that's
there.
where I was going with. Like, I've talked to so many of you guys where like I can see the first 2 rows. You know what I mean?
Yeah, every venue's different. Sometimes you can see the whole house. Sometimes you can see the first 2 rows. Sometimes you can't even see like the first row and like 5 people.
Which would you prefer? Are you crowd workers or?
I like seeing people's faces, but I mean I've seen the joy in both. Sometimes when you can't see a lot of people, it's like it forces you to just like really be like in your body and like just go with it.
But how hard is it to adjust if you can see the reactions? You know what I mean?
I think that's why it's helpful to be able to see people.
Yeah.
When I first started,